Delta 150 Heavy, contact ground for 9 for taxi. Good day. I'm sorry, you going for?
Sir, I want to go from Terminal 7 to 10 via Alpha 5. So I just want to move it into that terminal. 775. We have Alpha 1.
Level 200, direct call to Romeo, India.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you speak English?
Sure, what do you need?
Okay, just a question. Do you know what is a chemtrail?
The what?
A chemtrail.
I do know what a chemtrail is.
Yeah, and is it true?
Well, there's a big debate.
Okay. No.
I don't want to go on record for that.
Okay. No, but do you believe it? I don't know.
Well, I don't have enough information for that.
Okay. Yeah, but because I saw a lot of videos on the internet, and it really looks believable.
Well, it's arguable both ways, I think.
Yeah.
Depends on which side you're on, but
yeah. But what is your personal opinion of it?
I think there's part of truth.
Part of truth, yeah. Yeah, we should investigate this, because when it's true, imagine so many people they suffer of this.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil, as you would say.
Yeah.
About the chemtrail generator.
Oh.
Let's make sure that thing's working. We're gonna check this out.
I gotta.
Oh, look at that! They're working. They're working. You can see the chemtrails coming out of the entrance here. Look at that.
I'm dying to take a picture.
Oh, that's cool.
My neighbor, you got so I see.
Chemtrail I'm doing a video. Chemtrail generators are on, and yeah, there it is. Look, you can see them. Oh, hey, that's awesome. It's working.
How much more evidence do you need that they're spraying us with shit? Absolute fucking shit. There goes another one in the process. Don't tell me these pilots don't know what the fuck they're doing. They know what they're doing. They're spreading chemicals on. Now for the last 2 weeks, it's been hammered like this, and everybody has got a bad chest, a cough, and a cold. Now you're telling me that that's a virus? Something that just naturally occurs? Bullshit. This is where it's coming from. All this shit is landing on your fucking heads. Wake up, people. It's time to fucking wake up.
Aircraft making a condensation trail is very similar in many ways to when you go outside on a cold day and exhale. You create a condensation trail. That little cloud is a condensation trail. Now, if you take a 2-mile walk on a cold day and you can turn around and you can see your condensation trail tracking all the way back for 2 miles. That's how crazy it is to think that what we're looking in the sky is actually condensation trails.
The contrails, not the chemical, the contrails occur because of cold air, minus 30. It takes high altitude, around 30,000 feet plus. There's carbon dioxide and water vapor in that exhaust. That turns to ice crystals, and that's what you see, the white stream behind it. Those white crystals of ice warm up, dissolve, and the smoke goes away. And it never lasts more than a minute. What we're seeing now, and I first could not believe it, and I started looking at the skies, and these are not normal, they're not natural. There's something going on, I don't know who it is or why they're doing it. All I can testify is it's not natural and it's not normal. It's got to be some outside influence doing that. Thank you.
See those mountains over there? Not really. They're there. You can't barely see them. Why can't you see them? You say it's fog? It's not fucking fog. It's noon. The fog should have burned off a long time ago. See those mountains? I'm I'm getting sick and tired of being sprayed every fucking night while I sleep. They're spraying the fuck out of us, calling it fucking fog. It's bullshit. Look at those mountains. You can't even see them, and they're right there, a couple miles away. I'm sick of this shit.
When you look into that and ask questions, they say, oh yeah, contrails. No, contrails are behind a jet. If you see a jet flying very high, the stripe, the condensed stripe behind it, that's normal. But in areas first observed where there's very little population, you see a jet airplane going, it's not only one, they have 4 condensed stripes behind them. They go this way, this way, this way, this way, and then this way, this way, this way, this way. And when you inquire about it, ask people, you recognize that the real climate change scientists are truly ticked off, because apparently nobody really is asking them. It's the special interest, in my opinion, it's the oil industry, the energy industry, that are blowing smoke up somebody's you know what.
Take a look at these fucking things. I'm supposed to be out shopping, and they're spraying fucking chemtrails all goddamn day over my head. It's beginning to look a lot like Chem Sky. Google, is it okay if I make this video? Will I lose my account? Will I be banned from YouTube for recording the fucking sky? Is that okay, Google? Am I allowed to do that? No, you can't show the sky either. Google is completely corrupt. Talk about chemtrails, you lose your fucking channel. How dare you expose the US government and their bullshit lies? How dare you record the fucking sky? 65, 66 passes. Wow, look at all of those contrails. It's all natural. Saturate your sky with chemtrails. You can have a chem halo. Wow, you thought double rainbows were cool? Look at the death in the sky. It's a chem halo. Oh my gosh. Let's all celebrate as the Nazis slaughter us.
U.S. military whistleblower. She has an amazing, fascinating story that we will share with you here today. Now, Kristen, can you tell us what branch of the military you were in and what you uncovered?
Sure. I was in the Air Force on active duty for 9 years, and I worked in bioenvironmental engineering.
And now, I know the issue came up with chemtrails. I know that's an extremely controversial issue. A lot of people are extremely divided on this issue, but you actually saw things from your experiences that kind of give it a little bit more validity than I actually saw ever before. Can you go into the details of exactly what you saw?
Yeah, basically, to summarize it, part of my job was to know everything that was going on in the military and what type of impact that might have on human health, and then the environmental aspects and impacts. What chemicals are we using? How are we disposing of it? Kind of cradle to grave. So we were the internal compliance people for following OSHA and EPA standards. One part of that process was to approve chemicals, hazardous materials. You know, what are you using? Why do you need it? Where's it being used? And tracking that disposal. After it being brought to my attention about chemtrails or geoengineering, I used to think it was crazy. It actually was disrespectful to my line of work, because here we are trying to prevent environmental aspects and impacts and not have anybody get sick from our operations. But in an attempt to debunk, it changed my life. I started noticing things. I started noticing large quantities on the system where I would approve chemicals that did not have a manufacturer name, wasn't tied to a building, and that was normal protocol. When I started asking questions, I slowly became demonized. A couple years passed after that when I asked again and people realized I was kind of being more vocal about it on social media. I was starting to be thrown into a mental institution and have my daughter taken away.
Wow.
That changed my life. I no longer view the military the same way, and I feel like after 9 years of trying to uphold an oath, I'm able to do that now.
I'm going to tape this time, and so this is what we did before. This is what this is. This is the wine spit test, where you rinse your mouth out, and then you take grape juice and you hold it in your mouth and you spit it out into a petri dish. Well, what we did is we used the zeolite, the zeoforce. This stuff says it cages this stuff, this stuff that's in these chemtrails, it's in our bodies. Okay, so then now Chris is just going to pour in a little bit of that little tiny bit of the 91% alcohol. Watch, the stuff is alive. Watch what happens. Pour some in, just a little. Watch. Look. Look what it does.
Now you can film it up close.
Oh, yeah.
That's totally freaking...
Is that freaking freaky? This is in every single one of us. This is spookier and weirder than I even want to go there. Look at it. It's starting to get the other stuff. It was climbing out of the petri dish. It was like trying to climb out.
Whether people believe in chemtrails or not, the geoengineering should be scary enough. And when people learn about geoengineering, chemtrails will then become apparent because they're the same.
This is from a snow surface at Mount Shasta. 61,100 micrograms per liter of aluminum. This is just ordinary snow water. And people are drinking this stuff when they're hiking on the mountain. And remember, government action is required at 1,000. This is 61 times over the government limit, and our hikers are drinking this poisonous water on Mount Shasta Mountain itself. Strontium, 383. Barium strontium will take away from your bone structure, make for weak bone structure. The aluminum, though, that's scary, you know. What is it? Alzheimer's, autism, gosh knows what that's doing.
All right. I've just went out there and got this one. This is the chemtrail aftermath. You can see on the date. This is that white stuff that comes from the chemtrails. And I snatched this off the screen going on the inside. I want to see what this is going to do. Nasty. It's got the little white specks in it too. Oh, and you just toward the top of the water you can see the strands. Okay.
Numerous air quality studies, including from CARB, California Air Quality Resource Board, have named submicron-sized particulates as being particularly harmful for human respiration. Through all the discussions today, I have not heard any mention of this fallout, and has this been studied, and also the effects of a highly reactive metal like aluminum on toxifying soils and waters?
The question is, what would be the effects of these materials on human health if they came down into the stratosphere, in particular small particles and aluminum?
So the collaborators of mine working on the aerosol scheme are actually folks from Carnegie Mellon who focused on human health impacts. And while we haven't published it, that was the very first thing we did, was do the order of magnitude calculation in level pencil and paper, but with an expert on human health impacts about whether there could be an issue. And for aluminum or other particles, there are a lot of toxicological things that need to get looked at seriously. But if you're just thinking about the sheer number of particles and the human health impact of small particles, the answer is, well, we haven't published it. That was the first thing we looked at with some of the leading experts who do epidemiological research on human health impacts, and it's not even close to being an issue.
So 10 megatons of aluminum dumped into the atmosphere would have no human health impact.
So let me be more careful here. We're to separate out the toxicological. So the alumina, we've only begun to research and published nothing. Alumina, we've only begun to research and published nothing.
Dane looked at him and he said, so you're telling me that spraying 10 to 20 megatons of aluminum, as you said, would have no human health effects? He took a deep breath and he swallowed and he said, let me be more careful here.
We haven't done anything serious on alumina, and so there could be something terrible that we'll find tomorrow we haven't looked at.
And that, for me, that was the whole main point of what is going to be coming out to the public. It's the damaging effects of aluminum that are being found around the world in massive amounts. Here's David Keith confronted on this very issue, and he looked, you know, at that point like they just let the cat out of the bag.
Mm-hmm. We haven't done anything serious on alumina, and so there could be something terrible.
And telling them that we have to lay a pattern up there to prevent sun energy from hitting Earth. And what they're doing in there, it's now pretty much determined. They're putting in there aluminum, barium, and strontium. Now you take these chemicals and run them through a PubMed literature search in respect to human health. You will find more than 3,000 papers. Aluminum alone, I mean aluminum Alzheimer's, right, mental, I mean there's no question about it. Now it so happens, when there were people who really paid attention, if there was due to some weather and air changes, wind patterns, suddenly this stuff that they're laying out there, it comes down in rain. If it falls on crops, it kills the crops. It's like they have big blisters on any one of the crops, vegetables or things like this. Organic crops, totally destroyed, can't even use them. And when it comes to an area, for example, as like forest, after that, a few weeks after that, they're totally dead. They're toothpicks, and you can see it all on the internet.
Luft- und Raumfahrttechniker und habe Flugzeuge repariert und so weiter. Ich möchte euch jetzt mal ganz kurz erzählen, was ich gemacht habe. Ich habe auf dem militärischen Sonderflughafen Oberpfaffenhofen in Zusammenarbeit mit dem Deutschen Luft- und Raumfahrtzentrum ein Flugzeug mit einer Sprüheinrichtung ausgestattet, was an unserem Himmel giftige Substanzen versprüht. Als ich mit den Beweisen dafür, den Fotos und allem drum und dran, zu meiner grünen Abgeordneten im Bürgerbüro gegangen bin und gesagt habe, hier, so sieht's aus, ich stelle mich jedem Untersuchungsausschuss zur Verfügung, ist 3 Tage später mein Boss zu mir nach Hause gekommen und hat gesagt, ich muss dich entlassen, da werden von ganz oben große Räder gedreht, die ich nicht mehr halten kann. Ich kriege keinen Job mehr in der Luftfahrt.
So you uncovered a lot of these hidden chemicals. Where's the connection with the chemtrails?
Well, the connection is, at first, when I saw these large quantities of aluminum, barium, strontium oxides and sulfates, I thought, well, this could be for an industrialized process, for something called shot peening or, you know, bead blasting, things that you see in kind of the automotive industry. Except those were already accounted for. I already knew how much was used for those processes. It was a little type of different constituent. And the first thing I did, part of my job was to sample air, soil, and water. So that's what I did. I air sampled the soil, the air, and the water. And due to my profession, I know at which levels or limits of detection you need to check that at. And the amount of pollution that was in my area, and this is tests I did in Oklahoma, you know, in Georgia, in Chicago where I'm now. But in taking those samples, I knew the background, because a lot of these things are naturally occurring and elemental, but not in this form and not in this quantity. So how did it get there?
So just to clarify, you see these huge storage containers of these chemicals. Then you do the test on the air and soil, and you see these same chemicals in the air and soil now. And that's pretty much been the main evidence I've seen people who are for chemtrails use, is saying, look at the soil, look at the water, look at all the chemicals in there. And now you're finally the person who's like, wait, I worked in the military, I saw a bunch of these chemicals there. That's crazy.
It is crazy. I used to think it was crazy, and everyone asks, why are there no pictures?
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to see you try to take a picture inside of a restricted air hangar, because you'll have an M16 in your back. Yeah. And the hardest part for people to realize is, you know, where are the pilots? Like, there's people who have come forward, but these people are scared. You look at what's happened to whistleblowers, look at Snowden, look at Manning. People are scared. And I think because this topic is already labeled a conspiracy theory, I don't think the government necessarily views me as a threat yet. And I mean, I know it's not the most safe thing to do, but it's the right thing to do.
It's laughed at, it's made obscure. But just to bring the point home, the question I have is, why are they even chemtrailing? Why is the military and government chemtrailing us? I don't know. What's your understanding of it?
Well, I don't have anything that can solidify, but I do have my opinions, and that is the history of weather weaponry. I mean, you can take away people's monetary system, you can take away people's rights, but you take their food and you disable their ecosystem, that's the #1 way to handicap people. And they've done it since the 40s, it's not new. Also seeing how it started out to be a government program, and then noticing that it is a way for private corporations to profit off this, whether it's controlling agriculture, you know, profiting. There's certain events, you know, you lose money on if it rains, or so knowing that you can kind of predict and control the weather, there's money there. I've also, you know, heard that it could be tied to Agenda 21, but for me, it's not about why. It's just stopping it. It needs to be stopped.
Yeah, and it's called the crazy-ass conspiracy theory. The Chinese are doing it now, openly. They did it for the Olympics.
I mean, they've sprayed people. I'm sure you've heard the St. Louis story. They did biological testing. So if the government is capable of doing that, why is it so hard for people to believe? And I don't know if you've heard about David Keith, but he's actually a geoengineer, Canadian. He works at Harvard. He just wrote a new book on climate engineering, and inadvertently he's brought more awareness to this, because I feel they're getting ready to admit it, and they're trying to sell it to us. You know, it's kind of like they sell vaccines to us, they sell fluoride to us. You know, fluoride is a mining waste product. Well, how can we make that good? You know, put it in your water. So I think that they're trying to now kind of admit it and act like they're going to start doing it, and they've already been doing it.